I remember getting literally then panicking whether I was getting enough time to get into the ground, because even then it was a sieve trying to get in. It was just a nightmare as well. Trying to get in security was a shambles. And then you get, I remember trying to find a programme, as we spoke about earlier, before the game, never mind at half time. And someone had said that a load of fans had basically pulled the pegs out of this tent where they were selling programmes, and literally it was a free for all. So some people got 5 or 6 and some didn't get any, and it was just nicking them. So that was a shambles. And then which we'll come to in over a minute, but half time is where I went looking for a programme again, because there was nothing. There was water and tea, there was no beer to get hold of, and no programmes. It's really tough.
So you got in the stadium, and the first half, I suppose it's easy to say Liverpool were terrible in the first half, but to be fair, it was an exhibition by AC Milan. They were really
men and boys. Really was. Yeah. Maldini, class, Crespo, unreal. Arguably probably one of the best strikers in the world at the time. Shevchenko and Crespo, bloody hell. They were Shevchenko then, before he'd gone to Chelsea, was just another level, It was just men and boys carved open left, right, and centre. And it was thinking it was just going to be even more by the second half. It was just embarrassing. And I was knackered. You don't feel tired in a football match when you're doing all this travelling and all this thing, and you've had the beers. When you're winning, you just don't seem to feel it. But when you're getting beat, and then you think, I've made all this effort to get it. I have paid those tickets I got. I started to pay for them. I still paid a fortune on the flights. I've left the bloody gas bill on the fridge at home, which I was getting moaned at to pay before I went, and I did because I wanted to pay money to go away. Just, the argument with the missus at the time, and I was being selfish for the match. All those things, you do to get to a football match, and you get there, and when you're getting beat, it's just like this is none of it's worth it. All of a sudden, you've got all this flashbacks of what you're going to go back to and be. At least if you won, it's justifiable. So half time, it's just like.
So you decided to go for a walk.
So I went for a walk, and really, honestly, all I wanted was a pint, something to dampen my spirits. I was going to hopefully get a couple of pints down me at half time, just to then our programme. Get a programme from me in front of me. That's a memento for me. Me showing my first born, get him a programme, because it's still a memento. You've still got there, so you want a programme. We've waited 20 years, so I'm in search. Went to a kiosk and asked one for beer, and he said no beer, tea or water. And I remember this scout was saying to me, he's a big fat fella, and he went, "Oh," and he said, "You may as well, may as well have water," he said, "because the tea tastes like water anyway. It's awful." So I just laughed. I said, "Forget that." And I was a smoker at the time, and I haven't smoked since. And it was really weird because half time, the Athletic Stadium is sort of like two big saucers, a bit like a UFO in a way. And as you're underneath this side, on the side that I was on, you sort of come out at the back of it. You're not out the ground, but it opens up. You're sort of outside, but you're underneath the roof sort of thing. So you're sort of able to smoke because it's outside, even though you're inside the stadium. So I remember smoking, like chain smoking, because I was so depressed. And it was the anniversary of my granddad's death. He died a year ago to that day. I'll have to let me remember in. And I remember looking up on this, and I was praying. I was like, Granddad, we've got this far. If there is a God and there's anybody up there, have a word from you. I remember smoking, just sort of having this sort of this premonition sort of thing, just sort of like, praying and delirious. And then I went down this corridor. I remember just everything sort of changed. It went from being dead concrete that this glass doors I walked through, and people were sort of more smartly dressed. And then the sort of rooms, and I'm thinking these like executive lounges and stuff, but those just sort of people in suits and stuff. So I just kept wondering. I was just a bit like, when you go somewhere and you think this looks a bit all right, well, I better get back to me seats in a minute, take another turn. I just observed, and there was these sort of two, the only way I can describe it is like bouncers, like security type people, stopping people from going in and out this room with like glass doors. And I looked through the glass doors, the windows, and I just see that people were serving food on like platters and drinking. And I was gagging for an ale. So I thought, I might try my hand here, see if I can get a bit. And at the time, I'm thinking, You know, it looks a bit like champagne on silver glasses. It was obviously like a bit of a party. And I'm thinking, this is neutral hospitality. I didn't think it was AC Milan. So I'm like, great. So when they were looking away, we were trying to stop someone else going in. I snuck in. So somebody offered me a drink. I get me a drink, and everyone's looking at me a bit strange. It's probably because I've got the combat type shorts on, a pair of Samba trainers and a Liverpool top, and everyone else is sort of tuxedo suited up, well not tuxedo, but suited up booted, you know. So I thought, if I get kicked out, if I get a couple of drinks, we're getting beat anyway. Then I get offered this like canopy thing, tasted that. Bloody hell, it's like salmon. Like being a Chelsea supporter, you know, eating this salmon, having this what was, I wouldn't say, I thought it was like champagne, but it was wet anyway. It dampened the thing. It's definitely alcoholic, so I've got a few of them down, you know.
You remind me of the saying back home there, a dumb priest never got a parish.
I just the crowd, you could hear the crowd changing as well, and I'm thinking, players are coming out. So I look through behind people, and there's like a glass, and you can see the ground, and I'm like, bloody hell, this is a good view from here. So I people are sort of saying to me that I'm sort of stood in the way because I was just admiring the view. You know, sit down sort of thing. And it's indicated to this empty seat. Could have sit there and I was sort of told no. So someone said they indicated there's another one. And this guy sort of smirks at me, slick back hair, not as good as mine, I'm joking, a lot better than mine, permatan, smug face, strapping expensive suit, and a couple of people around him smiles and goes, yeah. So I was like, so I'm in here. So go and sit down, and the players are coming out. I'm thinking, this is a great view here. So I'm going to notice in a minute, but I thought I'll sit here as long as I can. And so I didn't know who the guy was next to me at the time. You know, you sort of look and you realise he's obviously important because a lot of people are sort of fussing around him. Even when he said I could sit there, people were like sort of saying, me sort of letting them, you know, he's giving me a reprieve. He's saying, no, he's okay, he can sit there.
Don Corleone type.
Which is Don Corleone, yeah, like a Don Corleone lookalike, and he's slick back hair, permanent, big white teeth. I'm thinking he looks obvious. When the people say to me today, you'll go, how could you not recognise? Now, you've got to remember in 2005, you know, I know who we politicians are today, i.e. everyone knows who the Prime President of America is, everyone knows who you know, certain national ones, whether it be, you know, certain people, but I wasn't big on my politics when it comes to Italian prime ministers and things like that. I recognised his face, but didn't recognise necessarily who this guy was.
Mm-hmm. Well, he wouldn't have been in the consciousness of Liverpool. He wouldn't have been in the consciousness of the city of Liverpool at the time, really. He wouldn't be the guy you recognise. One of those names you'd recognise as a well-known president or figure at the time, but not someone you would immediately put a face to the name with.
No, but then also as well, a lot of people now know him who didn't know him then, because it was, you know, you couldn't write the script for us as a play, because that following year and the year after, he started being called with trousers down, and everyone started to see his name all over the thing. And you know, so he's for anyone that doesn't know, he was the Prime Minister of Italy, but he's the AC Milan president at the time as well. So he's, you know, and well known as corruption and sort of links to Italian mafia, you know. So, you know, his notoriety is unreal. And you could see the importance of this guy, but you just didn't realise who he was, and I didn't really care. I just wanted a drink. So I'm sitting next to this Don Corleone, this sort of lookalike fella, and we score. We look forward and we score, and I'm like, sort of gobsmacked, good goal by Stevie, but just like, so like, you know, let's all be honest. The first goal goes in, you're probably in the back of your mind, you're thinking consolation. I've got a drink and a beer, and I'm sort of like, oh, get in. And I sort of turn. It's a bit like being in the main stand at Anfield. It's not like being in a Kop, you know. At the time, it's like the atmosphere is not the best. So, which hospitality tends to be like that a lot of the time. You send to people, a lot of stiffs in suits. So I'm just sat there thinking, well, it's neutral hospitality. It's not like they're gonna go mad. So we'll calm down. When the second goal goes in, I'm obviously a lot more excited because there's a chance. So the first goal's gone in, I'm obviously happy, but still really concentrating on the third. But when the second goal goes in, you know, I'm a lot more excited. And I'm, as I jump up to sort of really sort of celebrate, you know, that this guy next to me isn't as happy, but taps me on the leg, patronising like, and gives me this sort of, you know, free goal gesture, you know, as if to say, So I'm just like, oh, you know, it's all right for you. And he's sort of taking a mick out of me. So I'm thinking, all right, you know what I mean? So, but when the third goal goes in, there's no containing me. You know, I'm realising I didn't want to get kicked out. So the second goal, I was still quite reserved. There's no reserved in it, and the third goal goes in. I'm jumping up and down, screaming red murder. I'm going off my head. Couldn't believe it. Screaming red murder. And this patronising small Italian guy that was sort of beside of me is poking me in the back of the shoulder blades. I turned around and he's viciously poking me in the chest. So I'm going, it was all right for you before when you give me the 3 goals. You know, there's 2 back, like, you know, and sort of he wasn't very happy. And people next to him were sort of like really getting involved. And this two steward side people come high-vis jackets and said to me, you know, you can't upset our important guest. I said, important guest? I haven't upset anybody. I was just celebrating a goal. I said, you can't upset our important guest. He's the AC Milan Presidino. I said, AC Milan Presidino? And I go, Silvio. And it dawned on me where I'd seen it. And I'm thinking, you should come with us. So I think I'm getting kicked out and being frog marched out of the ground and going to get a good kick and a shot at dawn, because I'm thinking this guy is powerful. You know, I think I'm going to be waking up tomorrow morning with a horse's head in bed with me. You know what I mean? This guy is Godfather. You know, this is scary. So I'm being taken, and he grabbed my arms by the wrist, and as he says, if he gives you wrist, I think they're going to put cuffs or something on me. Pass me over to these other stewards, take me through, put a band on my wrist, which I've still got today. In fact, I can go and get it. It says Istanbul hospitality, like a hospital band. It's hospitality. Put me through these doors. I thought, where's this? He said, wait there a moment, come back in, apologise to me. He said, we're really sorry, but we had to move you, but we know what's happened. We know it wasn't your fault, but you can't help it. He's an important guy. We can do this paper bag. Istanbul, Champions League, inside there's a pen, lighter, usual memorabilia, gutties, and inside it is this cellophane programme. I'm like that. Got me proggy, all I wanted was a beer and a programme. Got me programme. I've had a few things I go through. Thought I'm still going to be kicked out. You don't take me through the door and say to me, and sit me down. Another chair that's got like armrests on it. And I'm sitting there and I'm in the Liverpool hospitality area. So I look around and there's all my childhood heroes. I'm in the Liverpool hospitality area. And this woman is steward Penelope Cruz, look like who's the one that's having me the cruise. Has asked me to want another drink, you know, and she passed me the goodie bag with the programming and everything else. And I'm just in awe. And the whole thing in Liverpool go on penalties, and you know, I'm jumping when we win on penalties. I'm jumping up with childhood heroes and lads, and I can't believe I can't believe the whole thing is just unbelievable. You know, and it continued to be that way. Coming out of the ground, struggling to get anywhere. The guy says to me, because we were ushered out the part we were at. Gives a lift to the hotel turned out to be the players' hotel where they were celebrating. Got a lift back to there. The whole thing you couldn't write it, but John has, you know, and it's best night of my life.